Hello and welcome to my merry little corner. Today will of course be this year's Christmas special. I put a fair bit of effort into this one, so I hope you enjoy. For the base model of this whole thing, I'll be using this promo test thingy that I got from a friend earlier this year. We'll of course snip everything off and clean up all the flash, mold lines, etc. And don't forget to drill out your gun barrels, kids! Seriously, doing this makes a world's difference in making something look good. I'll be pinning this guy down to the base, so we'll quickly drill some holes and plug some paperclip pieces into his feet. For the base, I'll use this unique water bottle lid. It's basically my stand-in for a plinth. And man, was I not in the mood to make my own black plinth. We'll use some paint to help mark where we're going to drill in the holes for the base. It also helps to have equal length wire, by the way. Next, we're going to use these various cubes, which I will not be going into detail on how I did these, because man, this was a nightmare. For now, we're just going to tack these onto the base to get a general idea of the layout. These cubes will be Christmas presents later on. I also made a stocking and a wreath, however I ended up throwing the wreath idea out the window because my green stuff experience is very limited. That kind of shape was a bit for my skill. Speaking of green stuff however, let's get some out and make some stuff. For the presents, I'll pretty much just wrap them in a thin layer of green stuff, though for the stocking I cut that out of a slightly thicker layer. The green stuff layer on the presents took a lot of back and forth to get into a proper boxy look, which was unnecessarily difficult. For the Marine, I'm gonna give him a little Christmas hat, which was actually the best green stuff work I've done so far, to be honest, and is one of the parts of the project I'm most proud of. The hat basically consisted of a cone of green stuff, which will be drooped to one angle, and while it's still fresh, I'll stick a little ball onto the end. As I went through this project, I actually took all of the excess and leftover green stuff and made them into little balls, which will be used as snowballs, balls, and even a little snowman. For this particular Christmas special, I wanted there to be a typical Warhammer feature. You know, outside of the Space Marine. And that will of course be a squashed elf. Try and sell the squashed feel to it, I tried imprinting some old resin legs into his chest to add that extra detail. However, it didn't quite work out how I wanted, so I just came back with my knife and further sculpted it together. I also added some spilled intestines for a proper gory look. For the hat brim and stocking, I added a worm of green stuff and made them all fuzzy looking by stabbing, cutting and jabbing with a blunt hobby knife. Now we'll do some ribbons for the presents. For this, I'll simply cut out the lengths of green stuff and add them on to the cured cubes. I'll do this in 2 stages, essentially doing 1 strip now and adding the second after this has cured a bit. After those are down, we'll then take 2 little cut-offs that have been curing for about 20 minutes to lessen that initial stickiness and use them to make little ribbon bows. Now it's finally time to glue the presents down. The rest will be added later to make them properly interact with the snow texture. Then we'll take this craft texture paste and use it for the snow. This stuff is actually fairly universal and makes a good dirt, snow, mud, and even sand textures. And is way cheaper compared to dedicated products. So I highly recommend getting some of this stuff. When that's down, we'll imprint the Marine's feet as well as add the rest of the little details while this paste is still wet. This way everything cures together, making a good and strong bond. Now, with everything ready, we can paint. Starting from a black primer, we'll begin the red with Corn Red. This will be the main color, obviously. Afterwards, we'll dry brush some Mephiston Red over everything to add some quick depth and highlight. Rinse and repeat with Evil Sunz Scarlet, focusing more on the more precise spots, and that'll basically be that for the red for now. This is honestly my new favorite way to paint red, which, yeah, it looks good and it's nice and rich and it's quick, easy, it's simple. Yeah, it's just the best way to paint quick red in my opinion. For the green bits, I'll take a mix of Warpstone Glow and Caliban Green. I like using this mix for foresty greens mostly because these two paints combined have way better coverage than the individual paints. Of course, for the white, I'll use Ulthuan Grey. Seriously, I have a borderline addiction to this stuff. Someone please send help. Going back to the green, I actually tried doing a heavy glaze with Warpstone Glow, but it wasn't giving me the result I wanted, so I just used a tiny dry brush for it, and then edge highlight it as well. Using our green mix again, we'll paint some candy cane stripes on the shoulder trims as well as the bolt rifle casing. to do some freehands. I recommend using a mechanical pencil to make the initial sketch, as it's way easier and it helps understand your placement better than a normal brush. I will say though, this little mistletoe was an absolute pain to do. I just couldn't get the leaves right for some reason. Something I've also come to learn is it's way easier to start the freehand by blocking it out with black and then building up the colors instead of trying to outline with the black. Doing this also helps add depth because of the dark base color. For the mistletoe, I'll just gradually layer up with some Evil Sunz Scarlet. For the leaves and Christmas tree, I'll use the green mix again. Add a bit more depth onto the tree, I simply glaze a bit of Warpstone Glow onto the more exposed areas. Moving on to the gold spots, we'll use some Necro Gold. This will go on to the Aquila, exhaust vents, and knee thingies. For the black areas, I'll do some rough highlights with Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now it's time to add some depth to everything with a pin wash of Nuln Oil. The gold will get an all over wash as well as the purity seal. To finish off the red armor, we'll use some Evil Sunz Scarlet and do some edge highlights over most of the panels. On the Purity Seals parchment, I did a quick tree just to add some detail and interest, and of course the normal scribbly lettering. Next, we'll highlight some of the white areas that got an all-over wash, back with some Ulthuan Grey, before edge highlighting with Scale 75's white. And that's basically the marine done, except for the eyes. But we'll get to that later. For now, we're on to the base. Starting things off, we'll base coat the snow with, of course, Ulthuan Grey. Then we'll base some details such as the stocking and a few presents and ribbons with Mephiston Red. I'll also paint some stripes on to the curved candy canes. For the green, we'll yet again use our mix from before and do the same. The squashed elf's clothes will also be painted green. And we'll use this color to paint some stripes onto the straight candy canes. Now, I don't know if this is a thing, but I had leftover green stuff, so I guess it's a thing now. Next, we'll use Necro Gold for the presents and ribbons. We'll also paint a few balls to prep them for later. For the elf skin and cookies, we'll base them with Kislev flesh. The cookies will then receive a mix of Kislev and XV88 before being decorated appropriately. And to give everything some depth and atmosphere, we'll use thinned down Drakenhof Nightshade over the entire base. Once that's dried, we'll take a small dry brush and bring back the white. Now we can do some balls. I love saying that. Starting with Waystone Green. The red ones will be done with Tamiya Clear Red, which works perfectly for this. Moving on to the gory aspect of this model, we'll use some blood for the blood god over the intestines before jabbing the general area with an old brush. Then, to add some more shiny, fresh blood, we'll use Tamiya Clear Red and repeat the process. With that, this model is pretty much done. All that's needed is to glue the marine to the base and finish up some details. For the eyes, I use Vallejo Fluo Green and just build up a good vibrant glow with a few glazes as well as some blops here and there. For the base room itself, I actually tried a bunch of techniques, however I didn't record any of it. But basically what worked best was using a sponge as a brush, because it covers evenly and smoothly over a large area like this. Whereas using a brush kinda left some streaky marks, which I don't quite understand how this worked, but that's basically what worked for me. And of course, a Merry Christmas on the side to mark it off. And that's that. This project took quite a bit of effort, so I hope you enjoyed, and I would appreciate a like and possibly a sub if you wouldn't mind. Otherwise, I just want to say that I'll probably be absent for a short bit, as my drive to do these painting videos has kinda dropped a bit. I'm not saying I'm gonna stop them, but it's just for now I'm gonna focus on a few other video topics and stuff for a while. There's also some IRL stuff happening at the moment, so content will be a bit scarce for now. But until next time, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, fellas.